Hello, Doug. Hello, Bronwyn. Can you hear me okay? CJ, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Oh, that's alive. Okay, hello everyone, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will you please rise?
Voting in progress.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Andrew Benson,
Here.
Doug Date,
Here.
Bronwyn Losi,
Here.
Joseph Wetmore,
Here.
Edward Levine.
Here. So, item 4 in your packet is the resolution appointing highway superintendent, deputy highway superintendent, and working supervisor at the highway department. I'll move it. Okay.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Hall?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Date,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi,
Here.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
She say here or yes?
Supervisor Edward Levine,
Yes.
and did Bronwyn say
She said yes.
Yes.
She did.
She's on a delay.
I said yes, yes.
thank you?
Okay,
Sounds
Mrs.
like
Munson,
here.
you want to do the honors?
You want to go right in here?
I do. Thank you. Or change his mind. Well, you have the helm down, my friend.
Thank you.
Personal opinion, we're in good hands.
Thanks, Frank. I must say, the work you did on Salmon Creek was quick and efficient. I was really impressed with how quickly you guys fixed up that road.
Yeah, it's thanks to the Benson family for allowing us to access it. Chandler is very helpful. Thank you to Soil and Water, Angel. Without her working with us with the DEC, I wouldn't have been able to get in under the emergency permit that fast. And we got out just in time today before the heavy rain. So.
What was also impressive is the work you guys did last year down by the Red Bridge really saved the road. You could see how it slowed the water down to just trickling over the road as opposed to a torrent. And so, those practices that we've been reading about, how they'll calm the water, I could see in action really working.
So one more comment. Thank you, Mrs. Mosley, for allowing him to be the highway superintendent. And sharing him with us. Much appreciated.
Especially in the evening when our meetings go forever.
My opportunity to go to dinner with friends.
There you go.
Do you support the you, Michael Mosley, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and you will faithfully discharge the duties of the highway superintendent?
Yes.
Yeah. Sign right here. And sign these two. This is the official one. Please make it go to the county clerk's office. And make sure to take the passport.
That would be a conflict.
Hi.
Thank you, Debbie.
Now, hopefully the second one will go that fast.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Bronwyn.
Okay. Next in the packet, number 5, resolution authorizing Conservation Advisory Council and Town Council to prepare and send letters generally supporting the intervention by New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to acquire, establish, and manage a publicly accessible conservation area at Bell Station.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I'd just like to adjust it slightly because, well, first off, our copy doesn't have the resolution number in it, and I sent that out earlier. I forget what his.
Yeah, we'll make the correction, that's why it's highlighted in yellow. We know it
Right.
needs to be added. It's
So
2021-194.
So are you putting the whole resolution as part of this, or just the number?
Just the number.
Okay. The other concern I have with this is the DEC is not doing this straight up. The DEC is doing it through the land trust. And so I was thinking it might be appropriate both in the heading and in the second resolve to just acknowledge that the Finger Lakes Land Trust is acting as the agent for the DEC.
I don't think we have the authority to designate that. I would be a little bit concerned, though I do understand where you're coming from. I'm concerned about if we have the authority to designate someone as an agent or not. And has the DEC been contacted? Be comfortable with that. Guy, do you have any thoughts about this?
If we, I think what Joe is saying is that the intention here is a multi-party agreement with the Finger Lakes Land Trust as the lead on the acquisition side, working with the DEC, right?
Yeah.
Not that we're making an appointment or designating Finger Lakes Land Trust as an agent, because I understand your point too, Ed. We wouldn't have the authority to delegate our legislative power to the land trust in a situation like this. So, if you, I think, let me take a look at it, but subject to plugging that in somewhere, I think you could get it said without creating an actual affirmative act delegating any authority.
And I don't disagree with you
Right.
on that. But while I'm here, I want to apologize to Jesse in advance because we're going to have to rewrite part of this. So,
You guys gonna help me, it'll be.
there you go. Once again, it's, yes, so we'll give it a moment. Do you want me to turn things off, or shall we just take a 5-minute break? What do you want to do? We've been here for so long.
I don't know what you want to do with it.
Maybe turn this off now.
It might not take that long, so,
I'm putting pressure. I know you're very good under.
He's better under pressure.
Yes, he is.
oh, shut up. Don't start a
Well,
trend.
Ed, do you have any jokes you can tell while we're waiting?
No, I'm not going there, bud. It was on record, I'm not going there. So, I guess we could talk about this while we're waiting at,
Well, I can interrupt, not to cut you off, but what if at the whereas, that's the fourth one down on the page, the Director of Planning transmitted, da-da-da, and it says, the town will likely develop a unit management plan / cooperation agreement with NISDEC and the Finger Lakes Land Trust, and instead of "and," put in, comma, which land trust is expected to act as the primary acquisition liaison for this transaction, semicolon, and. Would that cover it? Or is there somewhere else you think that sentence is best fit?
Well, the part that I saw was in the actual title of this, in which it says the DEC is going to do it, and then the second resolved are the two places that I'm seeing that it sounds like we're saying the DEC is going to do the lead, and from everything I've been hearing, they're not. They're letting the land trust do the lead. And so if we could just say, maybe with the land trust, or in conjunction with the land trust, or, something.
That sounds good, in conjunction with.
in cooperation with.
Cooperation with.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, it's not what, it's how you say it, right?
It's not-
Yeah.
So in cooperation with the Finger Lakes Land Trust?
Yeah,
That sounds
Or in
good.
partnership with the Finger Lakes Land Trust?
yeah,
Okay.
something like that. And those are the two places where I was seeing it most needed.
Okay. So after Bell Station in the second resolved, in coordination with the Finger Lakes Land Trust?
And I'm looking for Bell Station.
Second resolved.
Yeah, second
Yeah, I'm looking
resolved,
where,
towards the end, last line.
Nice one.
sure.
So after Bell Station, we're gonna write in
Coordination.
coordination or cooperation with the Finger Lakes Land Trust.
Whatever you prefer, guys.
Quick.
Coordination. Coordination.
Who's got a coin?
Legal.
Okay.
They're gonna work together, they won't always cooperate, I don't know, I don't think it matters. And then in the title, you could just change it from environmental conservation to acquire. You could say assist in the acquisition of, establish and manage.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
So in the title, you're changing it conservation to
Assist in the acquisition of, establish and
Assist.
manage.
with,
In the acquisition of. You following those sort of three changes? Yeah, I can send it to you tomorrow.
okay, so we're gonna take out the word acquire, and we're gonna put to assist in the acquisition of,
Comma,
establish
and
and manage, okay, and then I'll need to also fix it down here in this part. And
Yep.
then the other changes in the second resolved, correct?
Right.
We're gonna
Coordination.
add after Bell Station, in coordination with the Finger Lakes Land Trust.
Correct, and you can skip the edit to the whereas, because that's not as big an issue, or do you want to leave that in as well?
Which whereas are you talking about?
The fourth,
Well, the one where I put which land trust is expected to act as the primary acquisition liaison for this transaction.
I think that's cleaner.
Okay,
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
you want me to write it for you?
Oh, go ahead.
So you don't have to sort of like chase it down? I'll write it
Is
really
this a foregone
sloppy.
conclusion that this is done by the Finger Lakes Land Trust?
No. No, it's actually up for bid, and I think they pushed the bidding back to, what is it, CJ, October 11th through the 13th, something like that?
Yeah.
That's great. May I also just say that the sixth whereas that you're amending is a verbatim statement that's in quotes. So please just remove the quotes if you want to amend it. It's directly from
No,
that.
I just won't move the quotation mark.
Thank you.
No, so Doug, to your question, this is just an open, this will be a bid, that they have an open bid process right now, and we're trying to redirect.
So this letter from us and the Finger Lakes Land Trust, as I hear it, is we are trying to take over and usurp any option? Is that what we're doing?
We're trying to convince the PSC and NYSEG that there's a different
What's the
route.
PSC have to do with it though?
They have
It's
to-
not their land.
They have to approve the sale after NYSEG finds a bidder. The
Yeah,
PSC approves it afterwards. Once they come to them and say, we have a bidder, we want to sell it to this person, the PSC has to sign off on it.
Is this an open auction though?
Yeah.
I mean, is it like a typical auction where people just go and, I mean, I assume it's,
it's closed.
I guess I don't, I'm not against, I'm not for this or against, I mean, I'm not against it, put it that way. How's that? But I just don't know where, I mean, the owner's entitled to a right to, I assume, get their fair market value out of this land. Am I wrong?
That's true, but there's numbers of ways of figuring out fair market.
No, I understand that, Joe, and that, I'm not trying to cut you off, I'm just saying, our letter is obviously biased in the fact that we want that land for conservation and use other than what could happen, right?
Yes.
But how is that I don't have a good feeling about it. I mean, I'd love to see it stay that way, trust me. But, I mean, are we overstepping our bounds in, for lack of a better word, taking on this?
Well, it won't be us who will be taking, it'll be up to the authority of the PSC to determine if this is the best use for that land. And what I find a little bit concerning is that the last 18 months we've been in negotiations with...
I've heard nothing about any negotiations, by the way.
Well,
Which is rather, I guess either it's my ignorance or it's rather upsetting that no one shared it.
well, because nothing's happened. And then all of a sudden, out of left field, it's up for sale.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a shock to us also. I mean, and you can ask CJ this, she was there also.
I
And
don't distrust anyone here.
No, so it's like, all of a sudden,
All of a sudden, this has popped up and automatically now it's for sale. And, you know, I mean, we don't own the property. You know, right now, we're benefiting from the taxes on the property. And what's gonna come out of it if we don't sell it? To the Finger Lakes Land Trust, and they got, you know, I'm not 100% sure on how they work, but what are the tax benefits from anything they, you know, take over and manage in that regard?
The plan that I've heard from Andy is the upper fields will be used for solar, and we'll be getting revenue from that, and the lower part will be conserved with the DEC. So we would be getting the revenue anyway, we just wouldn't have to lose the forest to do so.
Okay, Brown?
I would add, I would add just that there's more important things at stake in this particular situation than tax revenue, in my opinion. I think that that's the low on the list of what is important about this parcel of land. And in all the emails going back and forth, it talks about how important and special this piece of land is, and having public access to the lake is really important to me. So I think doing what we can as a town to protect some land that everybody in the town can then use is pretty, it just seems like a sort of clear-cut decision to me.
I don't disagree, Brown, not at all. However, we have public access to our park too. So that's one thing. Yeah, we, in some cases, people that are out of town don't have to pay for it, but we have it right now. I'm not discounting anyone's, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate in any regard. I'm just saying, is this, if I own this land right now, my mom and dad left, and I tried to sell it to somebody, would I be in the same position?
I don't think you need PS, I don't think you need PSC approval. That's true. No, wait, I agree.
That's true.
That's the only difference. No, that's the only difference. Otherwise, we would not be here at this meeting tonight. If you own that land and you want to sell it, just like Carl Butler sold the land now that the shop certificate is on, used to be the Pyramid Mall, they didn't have to go through the PSC to do that. It was simply a land transaction that happened. But because they're the governing body to do this. So let me just widen the lens a little bit, which we'd hope this conversation would have been more methodical as everyone agreed on things ahead of time so we could present to the board methodically. But the way that our negotiations were is that the lakefront would stay the way it is. The power company was even willing to donate some of their land of lakefront there, so that would be preserved. The farmland would no longer be farmland. That would lose their exemption because anything on solar is now full market. That would mean that the solar company, the S-Power, which is the subsidiary of the power plant, would use that to help run their data center, amongst other things. And consequently, there's called a host community agreement, which, besides a pilot, goes only to the town. And we would get X dollars per megawatt. And this is why the solar, I want to say these solar companies, shall we say, factories, they're not really farms. That is one thing that they have that no other business has, are these host community agreements. And I think this is something that we discussed about the lawyer, right? Which we can just do briefly talk about that if you want.
Yes.
But these are things that now we're in uncharted water. Let's say hypothetically you're at $7 million. Okay, all of a sudden this land's worth $7 million with all the houses, the McMansions on it, which are wonderful. Okay, so it's 1.5, let's say just for simple math, it's $1.50 per thousand. I think our tax rate's 1.55 per thousand. Okay, take the 1,000 off that. Now you got 7,000 times 1.5. That's $10,500 is our tax revenue. I suspect the host community agreement would be more than that. I suspect also the assessed value would be more than that of the land for farming. Plus the fact is that when new roads are there, we're going to have to also plow them, fix them, take care of them. I mean, residential really, and we've had these talks before, Doug, and you know this as well as I do. Residential isn't.
No, I don't. For my benefit, you don't need to go any further. You didn't have to go that far. I understand.
Okay.
This isn't to me about anything other than the owners of the land, right?
Right. And
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't care anything else. Anything can happen to it, and that's fine by me. And I think obviously we want the best thing out of it. But I just want to be on a plane here not a plane like an airplane, but a plane where we can say, yeah, okay, that makes sense to me.
Well, and to your
And
point,
I'm not trying to be above anything else, and I'm just bringing that up.
no, I mean, and to your point,
Is this something the town's trying to do for the town's benefit?
we're trying,
Obviously, it always is.
well,
But are we usurping the situation?
we're trying to increase business. We're also trying to.
I understand, that's fine.
We're not taking anything.
And that's fine, and I have no problem.
Okay.
I'm just saying, are we stepping on landowner rights for this?
We're not taking any rights away from anybody. We're interjecting what we think would be best for the town. We aren't changing the zoning. We're not telling them what they have to do. We're saying this is what we would like to have happen.
We are changing the zoning, we can't do anything.
No, we're not changing the zoning.
Yeah, we are with the comprehensive plan, Joe.
We haven't changed
If-
it.
If that goes to, if that's sold to the, if that's sold on the open market, what are we gonna get?
Well, we may change the zoning in the future, but this resolution has nothing to do with changing the zoning. It has-
Understood, but that's not what I'm going to. I know what's gonna happen if that would happen.
Mm,
I mean, it's already stated in the comprehensive plan. We want that as a partner.
Yes, but we haven't changed the
Right.
zoning. And we're not doing it with this resolution.
I understand it.
So what are you thinking we're taking with this resolution?
I'm not thinking it's a taking, I'm just wondering what is gonna end up in down the road.
But we don't know that. We can't, we won't know that
So
till,
we're hoping it goes the right way.
Yes.
yeah.
That's all we're doing. We're just hoping. That's exactly what it is.
Okay. Let's hope.
There you go.
That's all we can do.
No more discussion from me.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'm good.
Mrs. Hall?
Okay, I just want to make sure I go over the changes again. We're changing in the title. We're adding another statement in the one whereas, and I'm going to insert the number, and the second resolved, I'm adding something.
I was thinking that we would not change the whereas because it's a direct quote.
But we can just leave the direct quote and then add the wording after the quote, if that's.
Yeah, leave it outside the quote.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay,
I just want to make sure that's what everyone's in
Yep.
agreement with.
okay.
Remote people?
They shook their head.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Andra Benson,
Yes,
Doug Dake,
Yes.
Bronwyn Losi,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. So while we're on this subject, we had some discussion today about, DJ, this is where I'm going to need your help. A special attorney over at this land. Do you want to elaborate on that? Is there an action we need to do tonight, or can we do this at our board meeting in a week from now?
Well, as it pleases the board, of course. So town council is there, and probably can speak to this a bit more, but nevertheless, as Ed has just spoken about, regulated utilities need permission from the Public Service Commission to essentially sell property divestively. And so the Public Service Commission is a really, well, I guess I would characterize it as something of a Byzantine entity. It has its own section of law. It's pretty complicated. So I reached out to Cohen Law Group. They're representing us in the town with the franchise agreement and audit of a charter, the relationship the town has with a charter. And so thinking they have the Public Service Commission experience, I reached out to them for recommendation and received such. So it's up to you whether how you'd like to discuss this, but I would defer strongly to the town council.
Guy, you want to?
Well, yeah, I mean, I basically, I was the one who at least participated in recommending to CJ that she consult with Cohen, because they already work in the public sector PSC field, and I thought maybe they crossed over out of telecom into other utility stuff, and the answer was no, they pretty much, they work in that lane. And that's very typical of this type of administrative law. You know, you're in one field of it. And the Public Service Commission rules, Byzantine's a good word, but they have their own rules, they have their own courts, and even the words that you read in the public service law and the regulations have a meaning that's different than plain English or how that term is legally used in other fields of law. And so, my obligation is to provide the best advice I can to the town, and the best advice I have to the town on such a thing like this is, if you're going to need to oppose an application to sell this property before the PSC, i.e. this resolution and assistance from various other state agencies and officers, doesn't cause NICEAG to shift gears or neutral or reconsider, then yeah, I would recommend that the Cohen Law Group's recommendation. It's an Albany firm. They're well-known statewide as a municipal firm and an administrative law firm. I don't think you could approve it yet because you don't have a proposal from them, but I would certainly get something from them and have it on standby, and if you need to have someone, participate in Public Service Commission and advise you on what it means, what you can and can't do in that process, they already know that. They're in Albany. It wouldn't make sense to have me driving back and forth or whatever. And it's a whole different field than what I do. So
with this, it looks like this is in opposition if the decision is not to go through the Finger Lakes Land Trust or such. And these are all hypotheticals, I don't want to inflame this conversation. Well, my point is that if there's other interested parties, as we are, to have this decision go a certain way, would they also want to be partners with us with this law firm, or would they hire their own, or would they simply let us be the lead on this?
Well, it depends on the relationship and what level of confidentiality you want with your own counsel, and whether or not those other people have also retained that counsel. And I would let them make that call. However, I wouldn't necessarily say it would be opposition, because the first thing you'd want is advice.
Right.
What are the costs? What are the risks? What are the probabilities of success given arguments A, B, C, and D and rules X, Y, and Z? And it may be that going in with all guns blazing is or is not the correct decision. So that's one of the reasons you defer to someone who has expertise in that particular administrative field, because I could take a guess, but it wouldn't be based on experience. And I don't think my experience with Department of Labor, Department of Civil Service, the Comptroller's Office translates in any meaningful way relative to how this agency works. It's very different. It's basically a public entity that regulates private corporations that perform a public service and receive certain sort of alter ego benefits that the state confers upon them because they get powers of eminent domain, because they have rights to use highways, and they get other public benefits that other private corporations do not get. They have to abide by certain rules when they decide to divest property or franchises or whatever. And that is, they have to get Public Service Commission approval.
Brahma, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I do. So, Di, I'm wondering sort of your advice for a timeline. I'm hearing that passing this resolution now, it doesn't make sense to have a specific Public Service Commission lawyer involved in this, but at a certain point it may. When, not like date-wise, but sort of when in the process would we want to have someone, so we're ready to go, so we don't go, oh, we should have had them already. That sort of thing.
Well, I think that's up to you and when you want to spend the money, but what I would simply suggest is that the firm be vetted, you understand which attorney you're going to be working with there, they submit a proposal, and if the town finds it reasonable, then you approve it at whatever meeting it is ready for. But given the timing, you might be in a tight spot if they do go forward with a sale in October and have an application pending for approval in November. Because sometimes, writing a pleading or a position paper for a court or an administrative court, that sometimes only takes, 8, 10, 12 hours. between the research and everything you have to do. But developing the strategy to know what to write so that you can augment your chances of success, that takes a little longer, and you have to see all the other moving parts. So my recommendation would be to engage them as quickly as possible, because the more time you have, the better off you are.
I may recommend, CJ, you want to take a lead on this? And see if we can get some information. I'll work with you on this, see if we can get some information in front of the board, perhaps for our next meeting, not expecting any actions right away, but at least be proactive as opposed to being reactive, where we hopefully won't have to call another meeting this month, because we already have an additional one on 20, whatever it is, whatever.
29th.
It's the last Wednesday of this month because of budget. So to be proactive, I don't want to dump more on your plate, but on the other hand, this is in your wheelhouse in many ways. So it has some sort of, and maybe work with Guy on this.
Yeah, I know a number of the people there. I've done presentations, with Association of Towns and, training sessions for newly elected officials. And, and so depending on who it is that the contact is, I might be able to assist with that if you need it, or if it makes more sense to go council to council to keep sort of the certain things lined up correctly. But it's up to you. If you want my help, I know, a number of people at that firm. That's why when that was the recommendation, I was like, ooh, good call.
I just want to point out, this is a two-way street, they're vetting us too, and
Of
the answer might come back, we're representing somebody else, and this would be a conflict, so I think jumping on this quickly, getting your lawyer served is critical, because we may go shopping again if it turns out they can't work with us.
Right, but, yeah, I agree. There are, Albany is full of firms that do that lobbying, that crossover between lobbying and administrative law. I'm not saying they're all created equal, but this comes from a pretty highly recommended from a firm we already work with that already knows the public service law stuff. So if we have to get another referral, I'm sure we can.
But that takes time.
I would say whoever it is going to be, the town has to do some groundwork, understand what the terms of engagement are and what they'll be spending, and they have to understand what we want. Obviously, if they're already representing NYSEG, it's a non-starter.
I think we're in agreement that we'll move forward with maybe Guy and CJ taking the lead on this, and maybe we'll have something to discuss at our next meeting in a week.
Yeah, I'm happy to work with council.
Okay. We're okay with that? Anything else? Okay, who got 40 minutes on the pool? Anybody? Meeting adjourned? We're okay? Okay. Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
Do you have to say meeting adjourned?
Sort of you do.